Nintendo Switch. You've heard of it. It's a very popular system. Everyone loves it. This fall, you'll be able to play games such as Pokemon and Smash Brothers. Fun for the whole family. And children and babies and adults all around will come together to join around the Nintendo Switch. Your parents help you set it up. But in the meantime, while the kids are sleeping, there are a bunch of really awesome horror games on Switch. And it's not really a system you would identify with that. Right now, to celebrate the Halloween spooking season, there are a bunch of games on sale on Switch, and you'll be able to go through this list right now and pick some of them out. I'm going to give you a very brief rundown of some of the best and my favorite horror games on Nintendo Switch right now. Starting with Outlast Bundle of Terror. Now, Outlast launched on...
It's a really cute name.
Outlast Bundle of Terror.
Little bundle of terror,
cute, right?
Little bundle.
Have you played Outlast before, Max?
I messed around with the first one. I think we did like one of those like how scary is it kind of things.
Yeah. So this game is $12.49 right now, and it's effectively a first-person survival horror game about hiding around a sort of mental institution or a psychiatric ward, like a spooky old hospital, where some sort of monstrous creature is stalking you. It gets like, if this was like a really big deal with sort of Let's Play streamer culture a couple years back, because like it actually gets really scary. And there's a lot of hiding, there's a lot of poking around the corners.
There's something I like about this. This is, I guess you could say technically a first-person shooter.
Kind of,
in that you're shooting with a video camera.
Yeah.
Like you don't actually, I don't think you get guns. Do you get?
No, I think you get like rudimentary weapons to defend yourself.
But you don't, you're pretty much, like you're sneaking into this mental hospital with a camcorder.
Yeah.
And you've got to like use the night vision and you've got to like try to, conserve your battery.
Yep.
And that makes it so much more terrifying because you're completely powerless.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It sucks.
This was, it's one of the scariest games on consoles, and on Switch, it's got all of the DLC bundled in. There's also Outlast 2 available on Switch. I personally like the first one better, but the second one does some cool things too, but they're both there. Bundle of Terror is only $12.49 right now. That's like right now, this week. I don't know if that's gonna change when Halloween is over and we're heading into turkey season again. But right now, Outlast Bundle of Terror, $12.49, check it out. Next. This is a game I actually didn't really know about until a couple weeks ago that I did some digging on, and I played on my entire flight to Austin the other day. It's called Detention, and it's very sort of like Japanese horror. It's the entire game looks kind of hand-drawn, as you can see right here. It's very beautiful looking, and it's about a character that kind of stays late after school and can't leave his school. And so him and this girl are stuck there.
That's horrifying.
And things start to get very, very creepy. And there's just like terrifying, weird iconography everywhere. It's side-scrolling, so it's got this really interesting effect where you will walk by monsters and you will have to hold your breath so they don't catch you. And so by doing that, you hold down a button and you'll see your sort of character like screen fill up in blue and red and stuff like that. And if you breathe, they'll come and kill you. But it's also got a little bit of sort of like Tim Schafer like adventure game elements to it, where there's a lot of cool sort of like puzzles and like mild Resident Evil type stuff of like finding keys and going downstairs and opening them and unlocking contraptions.
I've heard a lot of good stuff about this game. I need to check it out.
Yeah, it's really special, and I had no idea it was on Switch. Like like everything else, there's hundreds of, literally 1,000+ games on Switch right now, and it's hard to cut through the fat. So we thought we'd help you out here. Another very scary, sort of hand-drawn-y side-scrolling game on Switch that is rather spooky is Salt and Sanctuary. Salt and Sanctuary, the easiest way for me to explain it to you is Dark Souls, but 2D. But I think that doesn't do it enough justice. Salt and Sanctuary effectively lets you start off picking a character class and then taking on gigantic, disgusting enemies in this very sort of labyrinthian side-scrolling.
And this isn't, I mean, someone's gonna look at this, they're not gonna be like, this is a horror game. This is a game where it's scary because you go around a corner and there's a massive boss fight that you're totally underpowered for, right?
Yes, yeah. And there's wolves and bats and bloody, disgusting things gnawing at you. So it's got some traditional horror elements to it. But really the scariest things about this game are hoping not to die. There's a lot of traps and just nightmare cutlery that will slice you apart in this game. And it's really cool. I think what separates it from different, from Dark Souls games is that you can't just run around an enemy for the most part. You can like roll past them, but they'll be there to kill you because it's
interesting.
It's 2D.
I'd be curious to see what people make of this after Dead Cells.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this was one of the first sort of Souls-likes to come out that was 2D. I remember this was like back at PAX like 2013 or something.
Next, Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2 are both on the system, which is sort of a feat because these are like, these are big boy console games, but they run perfectly on Switch.
The first one came out on 3DS first,
It did, yeah. I actually prefer Revelations 2. It's got this sort of character swapping ability between two main characters who both have their certain traits, but specifically this has like side modes that are sort of like mercenaries from Resident Evil 4. That are a lot more arcadey and level-based, and you can kind of grind and level up. And I found myself playing a lot of this over the last few weeks, just randomly. I guess I'm in the mood to play horrible stuff. Resident Evil Revelations 2. Again, the first one's there too. Some people prefer that one. I like this one a little bit better.
First one's more kind of like conventional Resident Evil, like you're just on a boat and you're kind of by yourself, right?
Exactly. So these are there too. That one is only $13.99 right now, so check that out. The Mummy Demastered. Why on earth would I put a licensed game based on a horrible Tom Cruise movie on this list? Because miraculously, it's good.
That is the silver lining.
Yeah, in most cases, games based on movies are not great, and movies based on games are not great, but this one was made by WayForward, who has sort of a pedigree in making awesome, badass, side-scrolling 2D games that are very Metroidvania-y. They made an awesome game about Alien, they made a great Contra, they've made a bunch of the Shantae games. They do really cool stuff. This game is like really good looking, and again has very little to do with the movie, which is great because I didn't see the movie and borderline.
There's a mummy, and you got to fight it.
Yeah,
that's kind of it.
And so the way this game unfolds is really cool. You get items and weapons that help you get into separate areas and stuff like that. The soundtrack is like very old school Super Nintendo. The graphics are awesome. There is not a 2D Metroid game on Switch right now. I hope there will be someday.
Bonkers.
But in the meantime, there's this, and it'll let you kill spiders and monsters.
This one has a cool little mechanic though, where basically if you die, it kind of has that Souls-like thing where you have to go back and get your stuff.
Yeah.
Except your former self has resurrected, and so you have to fight yourself.
Yeah, you have to kill like a zombie version of yourself to get your goods.
If you're like super powered up, they're gonna have all your grenade launchers and nonsense, and it's kind of a...
And that's only $13.99 right now. Thumper is a game that you probably wouldn't normally consider a horror game, but
scariest rhythm game.
It really is. Like, and I think some people would be like, that game's not scary, and I honestly think it is. Like this game on PSVR or this game on Switch with great headphones and sort of just like staring directly into the screen gives you this nightmarish tunnel vision of this sort of beetle character whipping through these kind of crazy fast tunnels and getting torn apart. Like when you miss something in this game, you get your shell ripped off. It's very brutal and very visceral.
Well, I love that it's a rhythm game that's industrial.
Yes.
Like we always think of rhythm games and it's either it's Rock Band or it's like it's techno and DDR stuff. It's like, oh, this is like fun happy music, and then they're like, no. What if this was just a terrifying, like K-hole blasting industrial music?
It feels like they made like a very drugged out video game version of that part in Willy Wonka where they're on the boat going through that tunnel, but like at 10 times the speed.
Or like the end of 2001 sped up.
Yeah, totally. And some of the bosses in this game are really terrifying. They're giant skull monsters with tentacles and stuff like that. So definitely check this out. It's only $19.99 right now. Castlevania, one of my favorite franchises of all time. They are eventually going to make a new Castlevania style game called Bloodstained, but in the meantime, while that Kickstarter gem is still in development hell for a very long time, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon is available right now, and it's the 8-bit throwback Castlevania game that you've been waiting for a very long time. I dig this game. It's just very tried and true NES inspired. This is not like a modern Castlevania game. It's not like one of the GBA Castlevania games. This feels like old school NES Belmont game where you are whipping,
and it will birds will fly into you and kick your ass.
And they'll knock you back. And the cool thing about this game is you can play the whole game on very easy modes that don't have knockback for all the bats.
Did they just remove all the birds and bats?
No, they put them there. They just don't knock you to your death when you fall.
That's nice.
So yeah, you'll be breaking a lot of candles and killing Medusas and all sorts of nasty monsters. This game is dirt cheap right now. It's only $9.99, so check it out. And finally, the mother of all scary games just launched on Nintendo Switch. It is still kicking my ass years later. Dark Souls Remastered is here for $39.99. You can check it out right now. I don't really know how to explain this game for you if you haven't played it. It's sort of like nightmarishly sadistic Zelda, but with just everything cranked up.
It's current gen Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah. So this is a game about a rather slow-moving knight exploring like this incredibly twisted, haunted landscape. And what's cool about this game is that it feels sort of open worldy in that you can start off and go in any direction. This game is brutally difficult. They did not pull any punches on Switch. They didn't make some easy baby mode, much to the chagrin of many people who wishes they could experience
You mean
it.
I can't scan my amiibo and get like a treasure chest full of potions?
You can do some of that, but it's only going to get you so far. This is definitely a very hard, heavy, hand-to-hand combat game where you will fight things 10 times your size. I have nightmares about just sort of the environments in this game and some of the areas. Like very early on in this game, you can run down into these catacombs where there's just like, it's just pitch black and skeletons are chasing you everywhere. And if you don't know what you're doing, it can be really disturbing and really unnerving. And it's just really cool that this is on a handheld now. There's a lot of grinding that happens very early on in this game, so if you want to run around a town and kill enemies while watching, one of the horror movies we named earlier, this is a good time to do that. I actually did that while watching Apostle, and it was just like match made in heaven.
Nice.
So that's Dark Souls Remastered on Switch, $39.99. Those are our favorite horror games on Switch. They will make children cry, and when they do, you can give them Mario Party and Rayman and all the other fun stuff on there. So yeah, let us know if we missed any. I'm sure we did. We're always playing games on Switch and talking about them here on IGN. So thank you for watching.
Nice.
Oh, hey there. Thanks for watching our video on some of the scariest games on Switch. There's actually nothing scarier than a monster truck. And so we played monster trucks on Switch and things got spooky. After that, you probably need some Switch accessories. These are some of the best ones you should buy to keep your system from getting scary scratches and your controllers running out of batteries and other spooky things that go bump in the night. IGN's a great place to visit, and you should go check out that website more often. I'm Brian Altano, and I love you.